And the recording has started, and that means the podcast has started.
Bruh.
So this podcast, we gotta explain ourselves. Basically, what's happening is we've decided that we're going to do 4 holiday podcasts, or four podcasts per holiday that are like based specifically on that podcast. Think, Tottober, what we're doing right now. We're only going to do 4 of those. But we just decided that,
Bro,
so...
You're making it sound confusing.
How am I making it sound confusing?
I was listening to you, and we already talked about this, so I know what's going on, but when I was listening to you just now try and explain it, I was like, what?
Okay, so Tottober is going to have 4 episodes, and so will any other holiday special things we do from now on. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically,
so we're only doing 4 episodes.
We're basically just having 4 holiday episodes only.
Yeah.
Per holiday.
Yeah, so basically, next week will be the finale to Tottober, but right now we're going to do a regular podcast because, frankly, we genuinely couldn't, we couldn't figure out what we wanted to do necessarily for this one if we were going to do Tottober. So yeah, and we also, like I said, decided that we're going to do 4, and we'd rather have the finale be on the end of the month. So we're going to squeeze in a regular podcast right here, and then next week we will continue October with the finale.
And then next week, back to your regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, and then after that week, back to your actually literally regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, so these... So when it comes to holiday episodes, 4 holiday episodes per holiday season or whatever. So like for Halloween, 4 episodes, Christmas, 4 episodes, and so on and so forth. But here's the thing, is that during those 4 episodes, we can do whatever we want for the mini tots in between all of them. So the mini tots will not be holiday exclusive. They'll just be whatever. Yeah. Also, we've decided mini tots are going to kind of be more or less of a... I know they're called mini tots, so that sounds like, bite size or whatever. And that's kind of the point, but we also don't want to restrict our conversations to a time limit, because then we have to rush through things and we can't quite fully get our, every single thought we have out there. And so what we would rather do is Mini Tots is actually going to be more or less kind of like a bonus episode. So instead of restricting it to it has to be short, so only 30 minutes, that's the maximum. Instead, we're allowed to go for a normal sized episode if we want for Mini Tots. However, we can also go shorter than 30 minutes. So we can literally go from 5 minutes to an hour.
Basically, it's just going to be just as long as we can keep the convo going. Once it's over, it's over.
Yeah, it's just going to be pretty much natural conversation like the normal episodes, because normal episodes are about an hour or longer, and that gives you enough time to have a natural conversation and everything. But we wanted the same natural feeling for the mini tots, so we're not restricting them on time limits anymore.
Yeah. Also, there might be some somewhat big changes to how we do the podcast. They're still going to be basically, on the premise that we talk for an hour or two. It's just the format and what we're talking about specifically might change, but we're still working that out. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that.
Well, the main premise was that it's Tots, so it's thoughts on things. So we're just trying to think a little bit outside of the box, make it to where maybe it could just be our thoughts on things that's what it's called. So just make it more diverse instead of thoughts on just movies or games or whatever.
Yeah, which is basically what we've been mainly doing.
Which we actually like doing a lot, but sometimes there's just not a new movie to talk about that you have enough to say about, or there's not a new game out. That happens more often, is there's not a new game out.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you just don't have a lot to say about a new movie, and other times there's just not a game out. So it's kind of like, well, we are called Thoughts on Things, so maybe if we have something else we would like to talk about, we can just talk about that instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be more diverse. It's going to be more natural. The mini tots will be.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe feeling slightly rushed. And overall, I think that all of these changes will actually improve the entire podcast.
Yeah, we both agree. We think that our podcast is gonna be it's gonna
I
be
think it's
pretty
already
wild.
good. I think what we've done in the beginning has already been a pretty good start, though.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. Definitely. We're nowhere near to how good we're gonna be able to get, obviously, because we're just starting. But I think we've had a pretty good start.
Yeah, dude. We fucking nailed the start, dude. Now all we gotta do,
freaking nailed it.
all we gotta do is stay on our feet.
Yeah, basically. We stuck the landing. Now we just need to stay on our feet. Feetsies.
So yeah, you want to start for Crash 4?
Yeah, sure. I'm not even sure where I should start. Um, Well, as you, viewer, may know, Crash 4 is the long-awaited sequel, basically, that we never got, even though, yes, there was a Crash 4, but no one really liked it, or, I mean, maybe they liked it, but they didn't think it was near as good as the first three. So it's kind of like the spiritual successor, the actual sequel that we have been wanting, and I think it holds up. I think it is the actual sequel we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, so this game basically it essentially picks up from right after Crash 3, and it kind of nullifies like all of the other Crash 4s that technically were meant to be Crash 4, but you know, this game kind of erases those from canon in a way, but it also doesn't completely, because their thing is that Crash 4, it's about time, it's in the title that the game itself is about time, it's about like dimensions and stuff. And the creators have already said that other games that came after Crash 3 that were meant to be the, you know, Crash 4, like Twinsanity, Wrath of Cortex, even Crash of the Titans, that was meant to be like a Crash 4 as well. Like, all those games are now split into their own dimensions.
Yeah.
So Crash 4 that we just now got, that just released, is basically, it deals with time and dimensions and stuff, so that actually leaves, I think that's super cool, because then it leaves it open to where this is still the canon Crash that we're following, that was Crash 1 through 3. But now he's able to go into other dimensions for future games and potentially meet up with like Crash of the Titans Crash or Crash Twinsanity Crash.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I'm like, that actually sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
And they've already done some interesting shit with dimensional stuff in the story of this one. But I'm like, the fact that they did that though and still have the other ones canon, they're just separate universes or dimensions. That leaves it open for like really interesting storylines for like down the road.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea.
And it's a good idea in general, just because then they also don't have to restrict themselves at all on which characters they can or can't use. They can literally use any character from any game, and their excuse would be, yeah, he's from the other dimension.
Yeah, and they also don't have to restrict themselves on the setting either, even though, you know, the previous Crash games didn't really restrict itself on the setting, but you know what I mean. Now it's like, since they're jumping through dimensions, there's like infinite possibilities for the setting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either if
I wouldn't be surprised
just ignore that. If the evil twins came back, because if the new direction of the Crash games is going to be that there's multiple Crash dimensions with different Crash enemies and different things going on story-wise, like the Twinsanity would be very different from Crash of Titans, and the canon would be different from all the rest, then that leaves the door open for really cool shit, like the evil twins doing a crossover from like Twinsanity into the canon universe. Because literally the evil twins, the reason I bring them up specifically is because in Twinsanity, the evil twins would always open, like they'd throw a door just like in the middle of the sky, essentially, like next to where they are floating. And then the door would get big and then open, and then they would go through the door and it would shrink and go away. So I'm like, clearly they're already dimension hoppers.
Yeah.
So
also, they got Psychonaut doors.
yeah, but for dimension hopping.
Except they're going into the mind of the sky.
But yeah, so I was like, I don't know, that maybe they'll make the evil twins even more interesting than they were, because I do think that they had more potential that wasn't used, and the fact that they're kind of like dimension hoppers that are villains, I feel like they definitely will become a major villain later on if they keep going with this crash cannon.
I mean, yeah, they definitely could be, and that would be really
because
cool.
they can just like seamlessly dimension hop, while other characters actually need like the dimensional masks to hop.
Yeah.
While they don't. They just throw a door in the air.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But anyway, point being, in this one, they also can just do really cool creative things as well with the dimension thing by just making characters we already know and love, but giving them maybe a somewhat new design.
Oh yeah.
And maybe a different voice or something, and then their excuse can just be he's from a different dimension.
Or giving them cake.
Yeah. So like for example, yeah, I was gonna say, like, for example, there's Dingodile and Tana that are from other dimensions. And Dingodile, that's from a different dimension, he lives in the bayou.
Mhm.
So, and he has like a different accent than the canon Dingo. And they've already said that the Dingo in that universe that you get to play as in the game has actually never been a bad guy. And that's why, like, even when you die as him in the game, he actually turns into a good ghost and flies up. Because
Yeah.
he's literally never been a bad guy, and he's never fought Crash. So that Dingo that you play as in Crash 4 has always been a good guy. And he has like a slightly different accent. He lives in a bayou, so nothing about him is like the
And
other.
he's got his own diner.
Yeah, and he also, instead of having a flamethrower, he like can suck things up with his weapon.
Instead of a flame clean. Oh my god, my brain. Instead of a flamethrower, he's a house cleaner. He's a housewife.
Yeah.
Or whatever. He's a housewife. Whoa.
But see, I'm just saying is that's interesting and cool, because then they can also do a lot of interesting things like that, where, see, Dingodile in the canon, which we didn't see in this one, in Crash 4, is a bad guy of Crash, and they always fight each other. And he's got a flamethrower, and he does not live in a bayou and everything. And he has a totally different accent from the one that you play as in Crash 4. The one you play as in Crash 4 is a completely different person, basically. It's Dingodile, but from a different universe, where Dingodile is a good person, and he has a whole different like living circumstance, different accent, and he's always been a good guy, and he doesn't even have a flamethrower, and you get to play as him. And I'm like, this kind of stuff opens so many doors for the future, because not only can they make that excuse for literally any character now if they want to, is they could just rip any character they want to be playable out of a different dimension and say in their dimension they're a good guy.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, you could travel through dimensions in future games as well, and then find good guys who are bad guys in that dimension. Like we could have a Tana boss fight in the future where it's an evil version of Tana from a different dimension.
Oh yeah. And we already have like fake Crash, so I could easily see in the new installment being like Evil Crash. Yeah. That'd be sick.
Fake Crash and Evil Crash, they're different, so.
Oh yeah.
Because fake Crash, I think, is like really cool. Is more of like a even more stupid version of normal Crash. While Evil Crash is flat out just Crash if Cortex's creation of Crash was successful, so he actually did turn out evil.
Oh yeah, you're right. That would be it. See, that would be, and see, that's an idea right there for a game alone. Is Evil Crash is the main like villain, but Cortex is behind it. But then Evil Crash is so evil he actually betrays Neo, and then he becomes like the main bad guy.
I mean, that kind of did that in Twinsanity a little bit.
Maybe not with Evil Crash though.
No, Evil Crash was in Twinsanity.
It was. I didn't even know Evil Crash was a character.
He eats the birds that are bad guys.
Oh,
At the end of the game,
damn.
he eats the evil twins. But anyway,
I didn't even know that Evil Crash existed in the universe. I was just saying in general, Evil Crash.
bruh, Evil Crash is literally Crash, but instead of orange, he's like all red, and he has sharp teeth instead of like normal teeth.
Yeah, I literally had no idea he existed.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I like his design because it's basically just Crash, but like imagined if he was
But spooky.
Yeah, spooky Crash.
Oh, there we go. Now it's a Todtober episode because we got Spooky Crash. Make you little shit and piss in your pants. Maybe it'll come.
See, here's the thing that's amazing about that is because they've also always said, like, I think even the people the original creators of Crash 1, 2, and 3, I believe even they said that Fake Crash is like an alternate dimension of Crash, like where he's more dumb.
Yeah.
And now in CTR we have a place like a dinosaur place where all like everything there is fake whatever, and they all have the goofy teeth and the goofy eyebrows. So I'm like, dude, that could be in the future titles a level. We could go through a
that'd be so awesome.
Fake world dimension where like there's a little small storyline with Crash teaming up with Fake Crash to like do whatever in his world.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, this stuff opens so many doors for the future of these games, and it's really sick. And they already did pretty interesting things with this one.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of really interesting stuff. I mean, let alone just in general, the title is very clever because it's like it's about time, and you're like, it is about time, like for a good sequel, but it's also about time because that's part of the plot. I see what you're doing there with the title there.
Yeah, boy.
Okay. Yeah, boy.
There's I was gonna say that there's just a lot that went into this. Okay, so let's just start off story wise. It is the canon dimension. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, it's about time. This one is like the fourth one. It's right after whatever the third one was called. I forget.
I think it was Warped.
Warped, yeah. So this one takes place after Warped, where Entropy, Cortex, and Uka Uka are all like trapped in like an alternate dimension at the end of Warped. And they're all like they're kind of scuffling and arguing and stuff, and Cortex is like, I want to beat Crash, and Entropy is like, shut up, you bumbling fool. And you
Entropy
know,
be like, shut up, you bumbling fool, but I secretly want to too.
And then Uka Uka basically is like brain farting in the corner, and like rocks keep floating when he does. But eventually he brain farts so hard he opens a dimensional rift, and then he passes out.
Yeah.
And then Cortex and Entropy are just like, thanks for making an exit for us. We're not going to take you with us because you're passed out. Fuck you. So they just leave Uka Uka there and just leave without him.
Yeah. Have you ever ripped a fart so hard that you pass out?
No. Uka Uka did though.
That's what I was asking. I've never done that, but obviously Uka Uka
I mean,
did.
his
I don't know.
was so
Maybe
powerful,
someone.
Instead of ripping his pants, he literally ripped a hole in the dimension.
I understand why he fell unconscious after that.
Yeah. So they leave Uka Uka in that place that they were trapped in for a long time because he passed out, and I guess they didn't want to take him with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, they leave him there, and Uka Uka is not even part of the story, which I kind of like, because then I'm kind of like, bruh, Uka Uka will most likely be the bad guy of like the next game or something, because he'll be like, you left me there, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, the sequel to this will be Crash 5, Uka Uka's fucking pissed.
Yeah. But have you ever taken a shit like that's so big that it like literally rips your asshole?
Like when you're wiping and bleeding.
Yeah.
I think everyone does at least once.
Oh, I was just wondering because I literally had that like only a week ago, and I was like, Jesus. Like the biggest shit I ever took. Anyways, that just reminded me.
This literally went from a podcast that kids could watch because it's about Crash 4 to now.
Too bad.
Now you have to put the mature rating on this podcast.
Nah, that just reminded me of it when we were talking about Uka Uka farting so hard that like.
Have you been putting the mature rating on all of the podcasts?
Nah, the only one that I put that on was Ratchet because I said the stinky R word.
I don't know what the R word is.
Rape.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, now you have
now we're gonna, yeah. Crash 4 video. Crash 4 podcast. Age restricted.
So that's how you do it? Like, you just pay attention to when we're talking and like whether or not you think you should or not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Ratchet was the only one I was like, this one, like, maybe no. I mean, I'll still checkmark this video as not.
Because this one's gone about, like, ripping asshole because of shit. And
that one would have been fine. I think so.
No, it wouldn't. What is wrong with
Well,
you,
no,
bro?
it doesn't have to be age restricted, but what I'm saying is that I would check it as this video is not intended for kids, but I don't think it needs to be
that's what I mean. I feel like the whole podcast should probably just be not intended for kids.
Oh, yeah, I always check that. I always check not intended for kids for every podcast.
So
Ratchet
anyway,
is the only one I actually age restricted, so you actually have to be like in an account and like 18 years old.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, this game starts off, it's pretty cool because they come through the dimensional rift, right? And then that's how the game starts. Neo and Entropy go through the dimensional rift to leave Uka Uka behind. And then when they go through the rift and they're back in general, so they can start being bad guys again and everything. That, because of the fact that Uka Uka like opened that dimensional rift, it basically awakens the dimensional masks.
Yeah.
So, and one of them is on Insanity Beach. So that's where the game starts with Crash, as they notice some weird shit's going on Insanity Beach. And that's how you get to play immediately. You just start playing levels because now your objective is to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you very, very quickly meet Lanny Lowly, and then the rest of the adventure basically happens where he's like, we gotta get the other three, my siblings, the other dimensional masks, and, fix the dimensional rifts.
Yeah.
So that's basically the story. It's really good. I don't really want to spoil anything. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't want to spoil too much, but
I was just explaining how the whole thing kind of starts out. But I think there's like 3 levels before you get Lanny Lowly.
No, I think it's 2.
2 or 3, yeah. But I remember that those 2 or 3 levels, whatever they are, they start off kind of tame, but I feel like that maybe they would be like just a little challenging, but not really if you've never even played a Crash game.
Yeah.
Then maybe slightly challenging, but not a whole lot. But if you have played a Crash game, they're pretty easy. You're like
you'll probably
breezing
breeze
through them.
Yeah.
like we did. But then after that, like I'd say like level 4 or whatever, like once you get to the pirate, or no, once you get to the engine world,
Yeah, that's where they go, alright, Crash veterans,
which is
time to
literally only
die.
like the 4th level, I believe. And then from that point on, the rest of the game is just like, now you're stuck in, bro.
Yeah, the
Like,
rest of the
deal with
game, they're
it.
just like,
So
now
the
we're
game
going to
just,
murder you 50 times in one
yeah, the
level.
challenge rate just starts going up and up, like not even slowly. It goes up quick. It goes from like, oh, you thought the last level was easy. Well, this one's like 10 times harder.
Yeah, you're like, okay, it started off pretty tame. Oh my god! Yeah!
And there are some levels like here and there. I think there's only like 1 or 2 that I recall that just randomly were pretty easy compared to all the rest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, there was a couple levels like especially like some of them were even like late game and you're like, what the hell, that level was so easy for late game.
Yeah, but then again, I kind of feel like it depends on if you're familiar with Crash and how good you're doing with the rest of the game.
Yeah, I guess so.
But anyway,
Plus I feel like it's probably also just like some levels are harder for other people. Like those levels that we might think were pretty easy might be, pretty hard for other people. And
yeah.
vice versa. We might die 50 times on one level and one person's like, psh, first try,
Let
no
me
deaths, let's go.
here's a good way to sum up the challenge of Crash 4. If you really didn't like the Insane trilogy when it came out because it was too hard for you, you are not going to like this game.
Yeah.
Because in my experience, Crash 4 is harder than all 3 of the old ones.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It
A
is
lot harder.
by far, like, by a landslide the hardest. Like, it is so hard. Like, compared to the others.
Here's another thing to say about the challenge. So I think that's a good thing to say. If you didn't like Insane Trilogy, you're not going to like this.
Yeah.
So that's a really good, if you're looking at this podcast thinking about should I buy Crash 4, there's a good place to start. If you didn't enjoy Insane Trilogy because of it being too challenging, you're not going to like Crash 4 because it will be way too challenging.
Yeah, but if you wanted it to be even more difficult, well, you got your Christmas present a bit early.
If you're a huge fan of platformers and just like challenging platforming and stuff, and maybe the first 3 just weren't you just weren't really impressed with them, you just didn't really like them that much, I would still say you should probably try Crash 4 because Crash 4 is quite a lot different than Crash 1 through 3 because of not only the design kind of went more for a kind of Looney Tunes design a little bit. So the actual design is different itself. While the first 3, if you're thinking Insane Trilogy, they kind of went for somewhat of a pseudo-realistic sort of look.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda.
Well, it's like a cartoony, but kind of like realistic cartoony. While Crash 4 is just a Looney Tunes, so like exaggeration on body parts and stuff and all that.
Yeah. I'd say it's probably akin to like the first 3 games. The Insane Trilogy is kind of like a Disney movie where it's like cartoony but kind of uber realistic. And then Crash 4 is, like you said, Looney Tunes. It's a lot more goofy and leans on that a lot more.
Yeah. And I actually like both designs a lot, but I prefer Crash 4 because I think the Looney Tunes aesthetic with like over exaggeration on body parts and like facial emotion and stuff like that. I think it works really well for Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yeah, I think it fits the world and the game like super well.
So that being said, I don't think that the design, if you're not in love with the Looney Tunes design, I don't think that will turn you off if you're actually still a fan of challenging platformers, because it's actually such a good game that even if you don't love the design too much, you'll probably still have a lot of fun playing the game anyway.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Just because of like the fun platforming challenges you have to do.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is that when it comes to fun platforming challenges, I could see people not liking 1 through 3, and it's not because they're challenging. It's just because like they're just like it's not my cup of tea. And then actually liking 4 because 4 is really different but also similar because it takes a lot of 1 through 3 does right, and they're like, let's kind of replicate that, but then also do a lot of things that some of the other Crash titles did and replicate some of the things they did right as well.
Yeah.
And it kind of mixes them all together into what I think, in my opinion, is like really perfect gameplay.
Yeah. I'd agree.
Because they don't like Crash 1 through 3. You're either going up and down, like you're going forward, or you're going away from the screen because you're being chased by something, or you're going left and right. So it's only up, like it's only you're moving away from the screen towards the screen, or you're going left and right.
Yeah, forward, backward,
That's
left,
it.
or right.
Now in this game, that is still the case. However, the difference is it's more open. Like you're not in kind of like this small little hallway going forward or going towards the screen or whatever. Instead, if you're in a hallway in Crash 4, it's kind of like they sort of took you remember Twinsanity when you would get into certain parts that would feel more like a actual Crash level, and it was more linear. It feels like that. It feels like a linear Twinsanity level.
Yeah, it does.
Like, best example would be when you're playing Crash, Nina, and Cortex when you're going through their school, and you have to go through those hallways and stuff.
That's immediately what I thought of.
Yeah, because they're more open, and it is still a hallway. However, you can go through doors and junk, and then the camera will like turn with you and go into that door with you and stuff. And that's basically exactly what Crash 4 does, is when you're in a hallway, there'll be like curves in the hallway that go left or right or whatever, and the camera will just like follow you as you make that turn rather than it being like a completely straight hallway like in 1 through 3.
Yeah.
So it feels the levels feel like the linear parts in Twinsanity to me.
Yeah.
Which is good. However, the difference is they took the amazing gameplay of 1 through 3 instead of the gameplay of Twinsanity to kind of mix with that kind of Twinsanity linear design. And then it created this really good balance between like kind of somewhat more open levels, not super, but a little bit.
Yeah.
And then mixed it with really great gameplay. And the difference here is also that I don't remember if you have double jump in Crash 3, but I know in Crash 2 you don't. You have the slide jump and that's it.
Yeah, I don't think Crash 3 has one either.
I remember, I'm pretty sure 2 and 3 might be like when you beat the game, they give you the double jump or something. Because I remember I remember it being in the game, but I don't remember having it from the start.
I think it was Crash 3 then, because I don't remember a double jump in Crash 2.
Yeah, because I remember in Crash 2 you start off right off the bat with the slide jump.
Yeah.
Crash 1, in my opinion, is the worst and that's just simply because you don't have slide jump, you don't have double jump, you literally just have the normal jump.
Yeah.
And that's it. So that's why it's the worst in my opinion. But anyway, Crash 2 and 3 are better because they have slide jump and everything. But here's the thing. This game took slide jump and double jump and gave them both to you from the start. And then on top of that, they actually, in my opinion, some people I already know, think differently.
Yeah.
In my opinion, slide jump and double jump both feel the best in Crash 4 out of all four Crash games.
I agree 100%. And I feel like it was really...
I even tested it on Crash 2. There was this part where, you know how when you go on the little bonus level things and then you have to get all the boxes?
Yeah.
In Crash 2, you can do the same thing. Those bonus levels return in Crash 4, where you go into the bonus level and you get all the boxes, and then you leave the bonus level and you go back to the normal level.
Yeah.
So those bonus levels have been in all 4 Crash games. However, I went on Crash 2 because it has slide jump, and the slide jump in Crash 2 feels great.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there's stuff that it doesn't do that I don't quite like. So you would do a slide jump, and it would give you more. It would get you pretty high, but it's weird because if you're standing still, you'll go a little bit higher than normal. So if you're just trying to get like a box above you or something, you stand still and you do it. Yeah. But if you do a slide and then jump, then you get pretty high, like higher than your normal jump, but it's not nearly as high as if you stood still. But the difference is you get more distance in your jump.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
While in Crash 4, when you slide jump or you crouch and you stand still and you jump, it gives you the same amount of height. So therefore, you get distance plus height, even if you do the slide, which I like more.
Yeah, I'd agree, honestly.
And then on top of that, you can also slide off of TNT boxes.
Yeah. Oh, you can't do that in the original games?
Tested in Crash 2. If I went into a bonus level, what I was gonna say, and then there was a where the boxes are floating in midair, and when they break, you would just fall to your death.
Yeah.
And it was just like 5 TNTs floating in midair. So I bounced on one because you kind of have to just to get on them. And then I tried to run to the side, which I got to the side, and then slide jump to the other side before the whole 5 of them blew up. And when I slid, it blew all of them up.
Dang.
So you can't even slide off of TNT, which I don't like either.
Yeah, I agree. I completely forgot about that. It's been a hot minute since I've played the original trilogy.
And then on top of that, you do. They also are more lenient because the way that they based their level design makes it to where they kind of had to be. But I like it more because of the level design in Crash 4 is so good. Is that you can slide quite a lot off of an edge before you do the jump.
Yeah.
Without falling to your death.
Yeah.
In Crash 2, you only get the smallest of window if you go off the ledge to actually hit the jump button or you fall.
Yeah.
It's so small though.
Huh.
It basically it's so small that it basically encourages you not to slide off of the edge at all. Because they're you'll probably miss the timing and just fall to your death.
I was gonna say that's surprising because it's been so long since I played the original trilogies. I thought the only thing that they changed about the slide jump was the momentum. Because remember, in Crash 4, when you jump after you slide, you halt for a little bit in air and then you start going.
Oh, the double jump?
No, when you slide jump, you slide and then when you click the jump button, you're halted for a split second and then you go.
And you also halt when you double jump as well.
Well, yeah, that too.
In
Crash
4, and I know that there's kind of a halt in the double jump in Crash 3.
Yeah.
However, I do remember the double jump in Crash 3 not feeling super great, so I basically never used it.
Yeah.
While I actually used the double jump all the time in Crash 4 because I thought it felt really good.
Yeah, same. I thought both jumps did, the slide jump and the double jump. I thought they felt amazing.
Also, a lot of Crash fans will hate me for saying this, but you know what? I actually really like the platforming in the old games, and Crash 2 is my favorite out of Crash 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it has amazing platforming, in my opinion. Crash 2, in my opinion, had the best platforming and level design.
Yeah. I'd say Crash 3 was my personal favorite.
But see, here's the thing. Is that none of the first 3 games is it super easy to know where you're going to land after you do a jump.
Oh, yeah.
It's not super easy. You have to really pay close attention to Crash's shadow and really hope that it lines up correctly as he's falling with the thing you're trying to hit.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty nerve-wracking. While in Crash 4, it's more nerve-wracking only because they expect you to do some crazy shit sometimes because the level design is so good. But I'm never nervous that I'm more nervous I'll miss a box or whatever that I'm trying to get in midair because
you can't see where you're gonna land.
in the first 3, yeah. But in Crash 4, I have that circle, so I know where I'm gonna land.
Yeah,
It's underneath me.
Yeah, what he's talking about is there's basically a little yellow circle below Crash's feet, and so it kind of tells you where you're gonna land when you're jumping in air, because it stays on the ground. I prefer it too. I think it's a fantastic addition, because then you're not worried. Oh boy, am I gonna miss this jump? Not because of my fault, but rather because I literally am not sure if I'm actually gonna land on the box or not. Or am I gonna miss the jump because it's my fault because I can see exactly where I'm gonna land?
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
Based on skill.
Crash 1 through 3.
Yeah.
I get more nervous on if the shadow is accurate. If I'm gonna like completely miss it because I don't really know where I'm landing.
Yeah.
In Crash 4, I get more nervous whether or not like I'm gonna fall because of my own volition, like because I didn't do it right, rather than because I don't know where I'm gonna land.
Yeah.
So I'm more nervous about skill level in Crash 4 because I don't have that nervousness of I'm not quite sure where I'm landing. I might completely miss it.
Yeah. Which I feel like gives them even more room to make the platforming even more difficult, because now they don't have to rely on you just missing the jump because you couldn't tell where you were going to land. Which I think also lends itself to why it's harder than like the hardest Crash game in my opinion. Because they were able to focus on the hard platforming.
Is that some of the difficulty in 1 through 3, some of the difficulty is based on you trying to like calculate if you're doing your jumps correctly or not, because it's not giving you enough feedback to know exactly if you're completely right on your jumps and stuff. While Crash 4, none of that happens. Literally all of the challenge in Crash 4 is only based on skill. It's not based on whether or not, are you really like doing the jump correctly or not. Well, I mean, it kind of is because, that is part of the skill. However, the difference is you're not going to miss a box because you don't know where you're landing. You're only going to miss a box because you just didn't do it. So it's your fault.
Yeah.
In Crash 4, when you die, every time, it's your fault. In Crash 1 through 3, there's quite a few times I've died in all of them where I'm like, that wasn't even my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that being something that was a bit annoying, is sometimes just dying because you literally could not tell where you were going to land. So you're like, oh, okay, I guess I wasn't going to land where I thought I was.
And now, let me get on to why Crash 2 and 4 are the best. Because this is a really important thing.
Okay. I mean, I'd say personally for me, I'd say this is the only series. This is but I'd say like this is the only series that I can think of in video games where I can say that actually maybe not the only, but one of the very few series where I can say that it's had exponential growth in terms of like the quality of the games. Crash 1 is worst, then 2 is the second worst, then 3 is the second best, and then 4 is the first best, in my opinion. So, to me personally, I feel like it's had like just a straight line of quality up and up and up, ignoring all the sequels that came after 3 that were bad.
I agree. However, the difference is why I believe 2 and 4 are the best is because there are always, I have noticed this because I've even gone back recently and played 1, 2, and 3. I beat 1, and I've been playing a lot of 2, and I played a lot of 3 recently. And what I have noticed is that 1, there's a lot more bullshit type moments where they would just give you a level that's ridiculously hard for no reason, and then the next level is easy, and then the next level's easy, and then the next level is really fucking hard again, and you're like, where is the like, how are you guys calculating challenge? Because this is confusing me.
Yeah.
And they also had the cursed bridge level where they basically, you know how since you don't have that little circle underneath Crash, so you're not completely sure where you're landing? Yeah, now they expect you to do completely 100% perfect jumps across giant gaps in a bridge after you bounce off of a turtle.
Yeah.
It's
Which sometimes doesn't even work because then the turtle also has to be like at the very edge of the thing.
Yeah.
If it's at the other edge, then you'll be dead.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the turtle has to be in the perfect position, and then you have to do a completely perfect jump.
Yeah. Yeah, that level
and that's
is
hard
any
to do
Crash
in a game where you can't always completely calculate where you're gonna land.
Yeah, that level is any Crash fan's worst nightmare, basically.
So there's that, and then here's another thing. So
it's the level that makes them weep.
So this is this little segment I'm gonna call shit levels. Okay, so there's the bridge that's a shit level, dude. Fucking Koala Khan in Crash 1 is a fucking asshole. His boss fight sucks. Shit level.
Oh, okay. I don't. Is it because he's hard?
It's because it's just dumb. They randomly drop TNTs on the left, right, and middle, while he is across the way, and he's like, there's mine carts that go in front of him, right? And he picks up small boulders, like 1 or 2, and throws them at you, and you have to either jump over them or run out of the way of them. And then he'll grab a huge boulder, walk really slowly to the middle, and then toss the huge boulder, and then you spin on the huge boulder to throw it back at him. And you have to do that 3 times while these random TNT crates come from the middle, left, and right. So you could be dodging one of his small boulders that he throws, and then out of completely nowhere, because you dodged it, a TNT just falls right on your head. And then instant dead. And you have to start the whole boss fight over again.
That's why I was asking, because I was gonna say, from memory at least, I don't remember Koala Khan being that hard.
Well, it's not that it's hard. I just think that I died a lot because of the TNT thing, because it was just so random. There wasn't a rhythm to which one would drop at what time.
Mm.
I wouldn't have a problem with that boss if the TNTs dropped in a rhythm, and I could actually, as I died, be like, okay, so now I know where that one's gonna drop.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It was random every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's bullshit to me. So anyway, bullshit bridge level in Crash 1. Crash 2, honestly, the bosses are pretty fun. Bosses in Crash 1 were kind of shit overall because they just weren't super hard, or they were way too hard, like Koala Khan. And then Crash 2 bosses, pretty fun because they're not really that difficult. However, they're not like super fun either, because they don't have a challenge to them, so they are kind of fun, but then because they're lacking challenge, they're not that fun, so it's kind of just like middle of the road, like just okay boss fights.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I think that's why Crash 2 would be my favorite out of the first 3, is because I don't remember anything like complete shit levels in that one. But I do remember, this is where I have a problem with Crash 3. Because Crash 3 overall actually has quite a lot of the best levels in the game, in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
But it overall also has some of the absolute shittiest, because it has the underwater levels that I hate. It has the Coco skiing one that's like really large and open.
Yeah.
That I hate. Those are shitty levels. Now, this is why this segment is important. Crash 4, no bosses were shitty. They were all fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, the bosses were highlights.
And no level was like a shitty skiing or underwater section or anything. No level was shitty. Every level was fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is why I would have to say that Crash 4, in my opinion, is now the best out of the first 4 Crash games.
I agree 100%. And
There's like
yeah.
0 shitty levels and 0 shitty bosses.
Yeah, not only that, but I feel like I already told you this like when we were playing through is I feel like the bosses in Crash 4 are like insanely like way better. I'm not phrasing correctly, but they're way better than all of the bosses in Crash 1 through 3. They are insanely good compared they're insanely good in general. But they're like it's insane how much better they are compared to the original bosses.
Yeah, that's why that segment's important, is because I was like, this is why Crash 4 is the best, in my opinion, is because at no point was I was like, this is shitty.
Yeah.
While at least I would say there's probably also something in Crash 2 that I'm kind of blanking on at the moment. I'm sure there is a level that is shitty in Crash 2, because I remember the first 3 games, each one of them had something shitty about it, like at least one shitty level or one really shitty, cheesy boss. Something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crash 4 doesn't have any of that. Literally, the whole thing is awesome.
Yeah.
They even have some sections where you ride on pets, which I don't really love. I think that they're okay. I would prefer to be running around as Crash and platforming than doing that. But they do have like I think 2, maybe 3 of those.
Yeah. Which I think it's understandable to have those though, because it's a it's a little break from running around as Crash all the time.
Yeah. But see, I don't love those sections, but I was like, even those sections within Crash 4 were fucking fun.
Oh yeah.
Nothing at any moment in Crash 4 was I like annoyed or like this is shitty. I don't want to play this level. I want to just skip and move on. Like
yeah.
While literally with all of the other 3, there are those moments where you're like, I hate this level. I'd rather skip it.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely is. Which is funny because the original levels aren't like always. It's not always a fault of the level, but rather because of that whole like thing we were talking about. How you just don't know where you're gonna land sometimes. So when they're wanting you to make very precise jumps, it gets super annoying because you're like, I can't make a precise jump if I can't even calculate where I'm gonna fucking land.
Yep.
And obviously, as we've already said, Crash 4 does not have that. In fact, it literally, like, it obviously, nullified that. Like, it obviously noticed that was a problem and then was like, alright, let's fix it in the sequel, boys.
And for all of you Crash purists out there that are like, oh, but it has to be exactly the same. We can't have a little fucking circle thing underneath Crash because it makes it too easy. Well, guess what, buddy? You can literally go in the options.
Breaking out the buddy word.
You can literally go in the options in Crash 4 and turn it off and then play it with just the shadow.
Oh, shit. Bro, I didn't even know you could fucking do that. I don't want to do that. I think it makes it like, oh, yeah. It really does. Bruh.
Yeah, so Crash purists have no fucking room to whine. Because people who want it can use it. If you don't want it, just turn it off and stop crying like a baby.
Yeah. Although I think it's silly to turn it off because then you're just giving yourself you're literally a masochist. You're just like, yes, oh yes, crush my balls more, baby. Oh yeah.
You're telling the game to crush your balls more.
Yeah.
You expecting the video game to respond to you, buddy?
He's like, oh yeah, punish me. Oh yeah.
So I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the boss fights. I do remember, but the boss fights I was gonna say is that not only are they awesome, but the reason they're awesome is because they're like the opposite of Crash 2. Crash 2 was like the only reason the boss fights are good in Crash 2, and I can only say good, not awesome.
Yeah.
Good is because they lack enough challenge to where they're fun, but they also lack enough challenge to where they're not like the most fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's the opposite in Crash 4 is that the bosses literally have enough challenge to the point where the challenge makes it more fun rather than less fun because you're like it's
Oh, yeah.
too hard.
Yeah.
So the challenge in the boss fights is like perfect in my opinion.
I agree,
And
100%.
they even utilize the masks for each boss fight.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Basically they like managed to bring the challenge of the regular levels into the boss fights, and that was amazing. Because we haven't really seen that done before in any other Crash game, because all the other bosses were kind of just there.
Yeah. So I mean that's why Crash 4 is just like the most superior Crash game basically so far.
Yeah, and that's not even getting into the fact that they have a bunch of new things that are like just like fantastic ideas, or just really cool ones, even if they're not like mind blowing or anything. Like the whole pass and play thing, that's not like mind blowing, but it's a really cool addition. Which basically means that pass and play is like for people who like to do couch co-op, you can change it to like how many players are playing, and then the pass condition is either checkpoint and death, checkpoint or death. So basically, if you get it to a checkpoint, for instance, then it would be like pass the controller to player 2. So it would like kind of help you keep track of whose turn it is, and it's a really cool idea, especially since
Oh
kids
yeah,
will
it
play
also
this.
lights up the character model on whatever color, whatever, certain player is.
Yeah, so instead of just like having it, that's also part of the yellow circle thing, is that if you're playing with more than one player, then it won't always be yellow. The next player will have a different color, like purple, as the little circle. But yeah, it's a really cool addition. Although it definitely does need it needs basically, and I think Rob would agree with me. The only thing it really needs is the pass condition. It should also include level, like completion, as a pass condition.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we tried it for a second and we were like, there's only checkpoint and death. And we didn't want to switch off on checkpoints. And our system is levels or 3 deaths, I think was it? I think it was 3 deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we passed off like with that. And see, then it could also like, there are improvements to be made. It could be a level completion. They could also add like a multiplier. So instead of just pass condition death, they could put like pass condition 3 deaths or pass condition 3 checkpoints.
Yeah,
So,
we only decided to turn it off because it was just easier to go by our own rules.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what he's saying basically is that the room of improvement for that system would be to make it a little more flushed out. So if people did want to use it, like I think it would be even. I don't even think adults would really use it because I think
I think it's mainly there for kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say is that I think most adults, if they're playing Crash 4 together, would just switch off and be like fair about it and whatever. But I feel like kids, they love to be like get past a checkpoint when the other one's not looking or something and be like, oh, I didn't get to one yet. Hold on. And then continue to play and everything. But with that system, so that like parents wouldn't have to intervene and oh it's his turn, instead of doing that, the kids themselves could turn on the system and they like the second player would know they're like purple or whatever, so then they would look at the screen and they're like, I haven't gotten to a checkpoint, and he's like, bullshit, you're purple.
Yeah.
Give me the controller, asshole.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good system for kids. However, I do think that it should be expanded a little bit more, like he said, like 3 deaths or whatever, like depending on what the kids want to switch off on.
Oh yeah, and they could also add like time limit, so they could be like, we don't want to switch
Yeah,
off every level in death or whatever. So like, let's just put a time limit of like
that
30
would actually
minutes.
just be a cool mechanic for quite a lot of games that are kid friendly, because then
Oh
kids
yeah,
would be able to just have like an in-game timer to let them know when to switch.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Pass and play is such a cool, interesting idea that I haven't seen done before. It definitely needs to be fleshed out.
Because I
But
mean,
it's
I
really
remember
cool.
when we were kids, we would switch off like every hour or something when we played a single player game, and there wasn't any like definitive like checkpoints or whatever it was. So
Yeah,
we would just be like, okay, we'll switch every hour.
yeah, yeah,
And that would be a cool idea for like a lot of games actually that are like single player but they're kid friendly, is to have that pass and play function and be able to set it to like, okay, player 2 will play in an hour, and then you just play for an hour, and then after an hour's up they're just like switch.
yeah, exactly.
That would
Yeah,
be really cool.
yeah, yeah. So see, yeah, there's
I know
definitely
us as
improvement
kids,
there.
we would have used it because
Yeah,
we switched off a lot, like every hour or whatever when we played games.
yeah. So yeah, just it's just it needs improvement, but just to have that idea in general, like actually in a game, is really cool. And nonetheless, be Crash 4 that implemented that kind of an idea.
I think the only other thing I can think of at the moment is that because I've already expressed how Crash 4, in my opinion, is the best Crash game, and there's like nothing bad about it. While the other three, even though I do like the other three a lot, there are
Mhm.
things I can pick from them and be like, I don't like that, I don't like that. Crash 4 is really hard to pick something out and be like, I don't like that.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. It's really hard to pick stuff out that you
And
don't
like,
like.
dude, and if you don't completely love Crash's design, like the Looney Tunes original design that he gets, and everything, what's really cool is you can literally unlock skins, and if you might end up liking the design of a random ass skin that you get from a level rather than his original skin that you get when you start the game, and then you may
Yeah,
actually like the design in general more, because you're like, as you play through the game, you might be like, wow, I realize how many of these skins work so well in this design,
yeah, yeah.
because like
Well,
none of
plus the
all
fact that
the
there's
skins
also
work
for the
really.
yeah. Plus there's also the fact that like people that aren't like nostalgia blind have the retro skin. So like if they're like, no, I just want to be original Crash. Well, there you go. They have original Crash in the game too,
I want to be one
in all his
polygonal.
polygon glory.
Yeah, I want to be singular polygon Crash. No, but yeah, they have the retro. And dude, here's the funny thing. Toys for Bob knew that they were making a real, like, the hardest Crash game ever, basically, because they literally made the skins for beating the games bruised versions of Crash and Coco.
Yeah,
So they
exactly. Yeah.
even knew that their game was hard.
Yeah, it's just another one of those like really sly, clever jokes. Like the title being "It's About Time," and then you also beat the game and get bruised skins.
Oh yeah, and they had a really good idea, which I think is really sick, is the fact that you get these flashback tapes, which are basically like
Mm.
VHSs, where
Oh yeah,
well, if you haven't died in the level once you get to the VHS tape, then you can pick it up. But if you've died once you get there, it goes invisible and you can't pick it up.
yeah, and the placement just kind of like depends on the level because sometimes the flashback tape will be like 1/4 through the level, and then sometimes the flashback tape might be like near the end, if not like
Yeah.
right at the end, basically.
Also, another thing I do like a lot is I will say this also, bonus levels where you hit a certain amount of crates and then you leave the bonus level, go back to the normal level. It's kind of annoying a little bit, I've realized, in the original three,
Hmm.
because they'll put like 4 nitro crates and it'll be like, get 14 crates in this bonus level, and then you'll get 10 and you'll have the 4 nitro crates left over, and when you get to the end of the bonus level, in order to get those 4 nitro crates, you actually have to leave the bonus level and then finish the level where you get to the end of the level and hit the nitro crate thing so that all the nitros go off.
Yeah,
So that you have to leave the bonus level with 10 out of 14, knowing that you'll hit the thing at the end of the level,
Yeah,
the main level, and you'll get the 4 back. But in this, which I like so much more, they have a nitro thing that will break all the nitros at the end of the bonus level, so you know you got all of them.
yeah.
And then you can leave the bonus level because you're like, okay, I got 14 of 14.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool addition, especially since the bonus levels sometimes are pretty long, so you might not even know if you have all of the crates besides the nitros. So then
Yeah.
if you blow up all the nitros and then you see, oh, I'm missing one box, I'm glad they put this little nitro crate thing at the end that I can blow them all up with.
It's just there's a lot of quality of life things. They just did a lot of things old Crash games did, 1 through 3. They did a little bit of what Twinsanity did somewhat on level design. They just went ham, dude. This game is like, in my opinion, like a dream come true.
I agree 100%, which is funny because I was kind of when it was coming up to release day, I was kind of like worried. I was like, "Oh man, what if this turns out to be like a dumpster fire? Like it's really not the sequel we wanted after all." And I
It's
was
funny
proven
because
so wrong.
before Crash 4 came out, I would have said out of the more standard normal like ways to play Crash, Crash 2 would be the best. But
Mhm.
if you were to ask me my favorite Crash game in the entire franchise, it would have been Twinsanity always. And yet I know that Twinsanity is a broken mess, but I actually thought it was a lot of fun and had a lot of fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Crash 4, dude, I've loved Twinsanity as my favorite Crash game pretty much since it came out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Even knowing it was a broken mess, it was still like my favorite because nothing about Twinsanity did I ever go, this is shitty, I want to skip this part. While I
Yeah.
still did that even with Crash 2, which I also love.
Mhm.
Crash 4 is the first game since Twinsanity that I can say that, where I can literally play the whole game from start to finish and never want to skip anything.
Yeah.
So those are the only 2 games in the franchise for me where I never want to skip anything because I love the whole thing from beginning to end.
Yeah. And I think that's also what kind of connects it Twinsanity and is because they both had
Yeah.
like really cool, fresh, like new ideas for the
Yeah.
series that haven't been done before that made them really stand out. Other than the fact that, Crash 4 is just like high quality, but yeah.
However, I would have ever since Twinsanity came out, even if it was my favorite, because of the fact that I knew it was such a broken mess, I would have always said 9 out of 10 because I like loved it a lot, but I also was aware it was a broken mess, so I couldn't give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Crash 4 though, my guy, it's a 10 out of 10 from me.
I agree. It's no contest.
It's no
It
contest
is
at
a 10
all.
out of 10. There's no contest. It's not even it's not even how I don't think
Yeah,
we had like maybe 1 or 2 glitches through our whole playthrough.
yeah, but even then I
And it
wouldn't
would
call it
like be
broken.
silly glitches. Like it would maybe see like we would like press a TNT box and then it would go into another box and you're like, okay, that doesn't really screw anything up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, that's
Oh
why
yeah,
I'm
there
like,
was only
you can't
one
even call
time.
it broken. They're just like silly things that happen, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, and there was only one time where you could probably technically consider it game breaking, but it really wasn't because it didn't really affect much. Is remember we got the checkpoint and I don't remember exactly what happened, but like I think I got stuck in a falling animation and then died or something like that. But it was like, okay, I just go back to the checkpoint now.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
my Tots.
100%. I agree. Um yeah, and the best part about this game too is the fact that also it's like got stuff for everyone. If you just love Crash games, playing through the story, the main story, and you just love the gameplay, then you'll love this game. If you're like a hardcore Crash fan that just absolutely loves like destroying your ball sack with the hardest levels in the games, then
Yes,
this game
please.
is for you as well because god damn, dude, the flashback tapes alone are insanely hard, dude. It took me, I think, 2 days to get all the flashback tape levels done. 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly. But it took a hot minute. Granted, that was me going for all the crates and the levels
another
too,
reason,
but still.
guys, if you want to know, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil this for anyone, but if you want to know how 10 out of 10 this is, there's a really cool, funny kind of meme sort of thing that happens if you collect all the grapefruit near the end of the game. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say. That's all.
All the berries.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not gonna spoil it. You get to see it for yourself.
Yeah. What was it? I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. Yeah, and the flashback tapes, we never explained what they are. Basically, they in the flashback tape levels, they take crates and they basically make a whole entire bridge of crates. It's more complex than that, obviously. Like, they're scattered all about, and you have to like kind of puzzle solve because you have to be like, oh, I gotta jump on this, and this, if you jump twice on it, turns into a nitro crate, and it's a jump pad, so I gotta jump above this, go down, blah blah. It basically,
You have to
yeah.
strategize your jumps.
Yeah, you have to strategize your jumps, and just in general, some of the jumps are like super insanely like close with how how you'll land it. Like it might be a centimeter away from like missing and falling. So it's just it's fantastic, and I've had a lot of fun, even though I've been absolutely destroying my ballsack with these levels with the flashback tapes.
Yeah, boy.
I had a lot of fun getting them all done and getting all the
Oh
crates,
yeah,
though.
the reason they're flashback tapes is because it's actually tapes of when Cortex was testing
Oh yeah,
Crash,
yeah, yeah. So
which
it's
is
also
just an
kind of a fun
interesting
idea for that too. Yeah, exact.
which this game is full of. Go play it.
Yeah, and it also makes sense why they're called, or why they are flashback tapes, like, and why they're like all about like making a bridge of crates, and you have to get across safely from one side to the other, and then you'll get a checkpoint, and then you have to do that again to the end of the level. It makes sense why those are like flashback tapes, because you would think if if he's testing his subjects in the Crash world, it probably would be with like how good are they at destroying crates and getting across to the other side safely.
Yeah, boy.
We also didn't talk about the alternate timelines. No, not alternate time. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. The levels that
Well, I
unlock
was
once you
gonna
meet
let
a
them
character.
experience a lot of it themselves because we already rated it. There's a lot of cool shit in the game that I feel like is best unspoiled.
Okay.
There's
I'll leave
alternate
them to figure it
timelines.
out.
That's all you guys get to know.
Yeah.
If you want to see how rad they are, go play it.
Oh yeah, and did the other Crash games have optional levels? Because I don't think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Not many though, or did they have a whole lot?
I don't think they had a lot.
Okay. I guess Crash 4 would be kind of similar, but also there is quite a lot of never mind, it wouldn't be similar. There's quite a lot of optional levels. So that's another thing, is that Crash 4 has a bunch of optional levels.
Yeah.
So just another reason it's the best Crash game out of the first 4.
Yeah.
I think that's about all I have to say. It's a 10 out of 10. Absolute masterpiece. Go grab it right now.
Absolute banger.
Apparently it's been, underselling or something?
It undersold on release day. I don't know if it still is.
Oh, well, it undersold on release day. It might still be underselling. You need to grab yourself a copy right now to ensure a Crash 5. Yes, please.
Crash
5
4
was
Toys for Bob,
fantastic.
I would be so down.
I would too. This game was fantastic. It deserves all the praise. It deserves all the money. Go buy it now.
And oh my god, skins you can literally unlock in-game instead of using real-life money?
Yeah, and there's not even like a way to like, oh, you can unlock them in-game or you can just buy them with microtransactions.
Yeah, no, you have to unlock them in-game.
Yeah. And oh my god, dude, the absolute variety too. There's like, what, probably 30 or more skins for one
Yeah.
character alone, and Crash and Coco both have their own individual skins. So that's like 60 plus skins.
Yeah.
That is insane with no microtransactions.
Insane trilogy.
Yeah, absolute insanity. Toys for Bob is actually, I think they're actually insane with this game that they've made. I think they've actually gone insane.
Well, they actually visited Insanity Beach to make this game.
That makes sense. Yeah. They were infected with the insane virus.
Yeah, boy.
Alright, I think that's all I think that is where I'm gonna end it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do
So-
the outro?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. So, if you enjoyed, smash that sub button if you enjoyed hearing our tots.
And if you liked our Tots, give us a like, why don't you? If you disliked it, or maybe you're not a fan of challenging platformers that are very rewarding and fun, then smash that dislike.
And tell us all about in the comments down below how your balls were crushed by the levels in Crash 4.
Bruh.
And we will see you on the next episode, the finale.
Finale.
The finale of
finale
Tottober.
Tottober.